Many people have been talking over the last 5 to 10 years about how India is going to develop and how it's going to become this force in the world. But it feels to me that this is now happening.
Once upon a time, you started as a broker on the streets of London to be group chair and senior partner on Knight Frank. Well, let me just make it back to where it all started. So your first deal, your best client.
And I didn't really know what I was doing, I remember, and the agent on the other side of the deal was incredibly experienced. And he could have taken me to the cleaners, but in fact, he almost looked after me during that transaction. That lived with me. Brokers from different businesses, you can be highly competitive, but also friends. The relationship piece is really important to actually getting business done. We've had to evolve, we've had to move up the value curve, we've had to become more sophisticated, more entrepreneurial. I suppose the one thing I've learned is that you learn something new every day. The India business is front and center of our global network and our global expansion. We absolutely see the next 10 years being about Asia. One of the things I always find is amazing about our role is that we get involved in these extraordinary projects which change cities, which change the environment, and we play a small part. But I always look at schemes like Battersea Power Station, and I'm really proud, one, that Knight Frank's played a part to changing that 40 acres of London. In the same way that some of the transactions you're doing across these amazing cities in India, you can look at them and go, we played a part.
People, usually you say that he has a rich legacy or she has a rich legacy and created history. Here you've created geography and created a legacy.
Yeah.
You created a landmark, and that's the phenomenal part of our business, to be able to participate in that growth. Welcome to India, William.
Thank you, Viral.
And is this your 10th time?
I don't know how many. I've been here a lot of times, and every single time it's a pleasure. First time in Hyderabad.
Fantastic. And if you look at the skyline and if you look outside, I've had the privilege to see this evolve over the last sort of 20 years, and it's one of my favorite cities.
Well, we went around Knowledge City yesterday, and unbelievable. A development of the quality of as good as anywhere I've seen around the world.
Absolutely. And again, with what we have been doing in India over the last few days, going around Mumbai and then, of course, Hyderabad, meeting clients, and in your position as group chair and senior partner, Knight Frank Global, what do you feel about how is it shaping up and, of your various visits in India?
I think we were talking earlier about the fact that many people have been talking over the last 5 to 10 years about how India is going to develop and how it's going to become this force in the world, but it feels to me that this is now happening. We're sort of in the now, and the change that I've seen over the last 5 years with the infrastructure coming through, actually having such an impact on the growth of the country. We've just seen clearly that Modi looks like he's got another 5 years, albeit with not the majority expected. But I think that is just going to keep India moving in this incredible direction. Extraordinary economy, really exciting place to be operating right now.
Great. No, and we're also quite excited. Of course, we were emerging as the soft power and the whole digitization of the economy. And I think the big change that we are perhaps going to be witnessing, and that's going to be how India shapes up, is how we will deal with our journey in the manufacturing space. But to just switch altogether, and of course, it's been 28 years at Knight Frank?
33.
33, sorry, pardon me, 33 years at Knight Frank. And did you start as a broker, and how's been that journey?
Look, I feel really lucky. I've had an incredible journey at Knight Frank. So I started as an office leasing broker, doing work for both landlords and tenants in the City of London. And over that period of time, I've been involved in some of the most amazing projects in London. And well, as we came to know each other probably 10 or so years ago when I got involved in the global service line.
Absolutely.
And that was a real change for me. It was a real opportunity to go and see markets around the world. It completely alters your perspective. And, I end up sitting here today as senior partner after that journey. And I suppose the one thing I've learned is that you learn something new every day, and that's the most enjoyable thing about this role.
Phenomenal. And what is great to hear is that once upon a time you started as a broker on the streets of London to be group chair and senior partner on Knight Frank. So speaks volumes about how the firm is, and how You've been around for 33 years and counting, and I've now spent 18 years, close to 18 years at Knight Frank. And what is the big stickiness about being at Knight Frank?
In 33 years, the business has changed beyond all recognition, and in fact, even in the last 10. I believe our business in Asia has grown threefold in the last 10 years. Our UK business has doubled in size. And therefore, the pace of change, we've had to evolve, we've had to move up the value curve, we've had to become more sophisticated, more entrepreneurial. But what hasn't changed is the culture, our absolute focus on our people. Finding the best people and giving them an environment in which they can thrive and develop. And having that attitude, that focus on relationships, both with our people and with our clients, and teaching that. I think there's always been a culture also bringing people through, and I believe some of our competition have lost that. And if we can continue to develop the people who are coming through the business, reach down and pull people up is the way I look at it. Make sure you pass on your knowledge.
No, and in all humility, I kind of feel it in everything that you say, that our people centricity, which
Absolutely.
is people internal or external,
Yeah.
whether it's our clients or our people internally. I think people who have worked at Knight Frank long enough will be able to completely relate to it. In fact, we're coming off a off-site as a group. We spent 4 days together celebrating.
I know you didn't invite me.
No, you have been invited. There is a task which I had to sort of fulfill of my goofy performance, which you led me on to.
I've heard rumors of this as well. Yeah.
So no, absolutely invited. In the most exotic location next year. But what we got to do, together as a group, and I think it was just to celebrate our success. But we had 40 new people join us, and very, very happy to share that everyone feels it. That people centricity, which is so distinct to our culture, I think every single person feels it across board. So thank you for being able to drive this right from the top in London. I understand that you have a deep-rooted connection to India as well. I mean, I know of your family, if you can tell us about that.
I was brought up by my mother and father, who talked of India a lot. Because both of them were born in Calcutta.
Oh, fantastic.
In the 1920s. And it's a funny story, because they were born 2 weeks apart in the same hospital. And met on Victoria Station when they were 21 years old.
Oh, phenomenal. That's quite a story.
So, a lovely coincidence. So, it's always been in my mind, and I do feel, there's a certain circularity about the fact that I've been able to spend quite a bit of time over here, which I haven't got to Calcutta yet, which I must do.
Yes. So you've been to, of course, Mumbai, Bangalore, Delhi, Chennai, now this time to Hyderabad.
I haven't been to Chennai yet. So
Chennai?
I think that's next on the list.
Yeah.
Shashia's lining that one up for me, I think.
I think coming up, yeah, great. And let me ask you, one of your best client pitches, I'm in your role today, you're dealing with the business, but let me just make it back to where it all started. So your first deal, your best client pitch.
Battersea Power Station plays a massive part in my life. It was the last major client, I suppose, I worked with for the last 10 years of when I had a proper job. And we started working with Treasury Holdings in 2007. They then went bust, and amazingly, we were instructed by the receivers to sell Battersea Power Station, which we sold for £400 million to the Malaysians. We then had to repitch to win the job back, to advise on the leasing. It was an interesting pitch, because ourselves and CBRE, who were the incumbents before, were told, right, you have to come out to Kuala Lumpur and we want you to pitch together.
Oh, wow.
And
together?
Together. And
I never heard of this.
I'd never done that before.
So you had to practice together do this together?
Exactly. We wrote the pitch together. We practiced together.
Some deep-rooted collaboration.
We took the flight together.
Oh, wow.
And we stood in a room of 200 people, this extraordinary pitch process, because the entirety of the Malaysian consortium was there. And we won. And it would have been one of the most, I think, gutting things had we not won it, because when
you've done it in the past, and then
exactly.
This very, very peculiar situation where you have to pitch together. Phenomenal! I mean, that's quite a story.
I mean, one of the things I always find is amazing about our role is that we get involved in these extraordinary projects which change cities, which change the environment. And we play a small part. Obviously, you've got architects and developers and investors and owners. But I always look at schemes like Battersea Power Station. Of course, we advised on the Apple transaction. And I'm really proud, one, that Knight Frank, there were 100 people involved in that, from the person who, wrote the invoice or advised on the hotel, or, the back office business services people, to the brokers at the front. But Knight Frank's played a part to changing that 40 acres of London. In the same way that, some of the transactions you're doing across these amazing cities in India, you can look at them and go, we played a part, and I always use the example of something like Bangalore railway station, where we have people in Knight Frank shirts running around. And I don't bang on about our purpose maybe enough, but we are working in partnership to enhance people's lives and environments, as well as making the deals happen.
William, I read this beautiful line, and this relates to generally to the real estate industry. If you look at these buildings here, people usually, you say that he has a rich legacy or she has a rich legacy and created history. Here you've created geography and created a legacy. So you've been able to create geography, to your point on 40 acres at Battersea Park, or this building here in Hyderabad. You've literally created geography, and that's your legacy.
Yeah.
You've created a landmark, and that's the phenomenal part of our business, to be able to participate in that growth. But let me ask you, vocationally, did you gear up to become a broker, or how did it happen to you?
It's an interesting question. I fell into property, really. I mean, I left college. I had no idea what I wanted to do.
That's so honest.
I bumped into somebody who gave me an opportunity in a residential estate agency in London. I did that for a while, and then got an opportunity at a business called Allsops, which is a commercial business in the city. And I loved it. And the product was almost secondary. It was about this constant interaction with people.
Yes.
And having to build relationships.
Yes.
And it's taught me so much about people. You asked about the first ever transaction that I did. I remember it was a one-man band, and acquiring him some offices. He was a lawyer in City Road in London, right on the fringes of the city. In those days, I only operated on the fringes and
Right.
small units. And I didn't really know what I was doing. I remember, and the agent on the other side of the deal was incredibly experienced. And he could have taken me to the cleaners, but in fact, he almost looked after me during that transaction. And he did a good job for his clients, made sure I did a good job for my client. That lived with me. The fact that kind of relationship, because I did another deal with that person about 2 or 3 years later, and what goes around comes around in our business. It's a small world.
Phenomenal. That first deal, like always remains with you, that sort of takes you through all these years. But the funny part is that I haven't come across anyone who studied to become a broker.
Yes.
And imagine how well you've done, I can say humbly, not bad as well at my end.
Pretty good, actually.
And I keep saying this. I find it difficult to even explain to my kids even today what exactly we do.
Exactly.
And to your parents.
when I send my photographs home to my family WhatsApp group, I get back from my youngest daughter, working hard or hardly working.
Imagine.
So I agree with you. I find it very difficult to explain.
Yeah, and you're so honest that we didn't know what we wanted to do, and how you land up being in real estate, and it's such a rewarding business, all through and through the overall sector. So great place to be in.
It's an interesting industry on the basis, and I was talking to a client about this last week. Clients, brokers from different businesses, you can be highly competitive, but also friends.
Oh yes,
yes. And in fact, that relationship piece, you don't have to be friends, but the relationship piece is really important to actually getting business done.
Absolutely.
And the trust you create with other people.
In fact, let me ask you a question. Since the London is your market, which you know at the back of your hand, how many commercial real estate brokers would be in London, both on the tenant side and landlord side put together, across, let's say, the 10 agencies?
In the commercial business, there are probably 400 or 500 brokers.
So, on the other side, you're saying you're only competing with 500 people.
Yes,
Imagine
but in fact, out of those 500, there are probably only 50 good ones.
So if you're
Yeah.
hardworking, you have
Yeah.
EQ, you are generally good with people. Doesn't matter what you wanted to do after your graduation.
Yeah.
You just go up the value chain, and
Yeah.
it's one of those businesses where if you wanted to be a cricketer, like in India, you would be competing with millions of people, but here you're only competing with 500. So I think it's an extremely rewarding business. There's a myth that it is competitive. So let me just switch around to ask you, what is your vision of the India business, and how are you looking at the India business overall in context of Knight Frank globally?
Well, look, as I've said at a couple of town halls recently over the last 2 or 3 days, the India business is front and center of our global network and our global expansion. We absolutely see the next 10 years being about Asia. The restructuring of our European business is really important. There's a great opportunity there. The UK business is going well, but there is not the type of growth there as an opportunity that we see in Asia Pac, and India is, absolutely front and center of that. The opportunity to build off the platform that's been created is significant, and the leaders that India have are fantastic. It's taking it to the competition and winning, really. I mean, now we have the platform across Asia. We've had new leadership in Australia, in Singapore, in Hong Kong, and Greater China. We've got an absolutely first-rate team, and that's a very exciting. The potential is fantastic.
Fantastic, great. Some fun facts. Cricket or football?
Both.
Both? No. I mean, still.
Cricket first.
Cricket first? And
Cricket first.
What team? Which is your team? Beyond England?
Well, to be honest, I have never really followed county cricket closely. I've never really had a team.
Your village team?
My village team, yes. I mean, I was passionate about playing it, and played, reasonably competitively till I was about.
Were you always in the team or benching?
I was always in the team. Of course, I was always in the team. I was reasonably good batsman, and I bowled a bit.
Oh, okay.
So kind of
Great.
not quite Ben Stokes, but I followed England all my life.
Batted left-handed and
batted left-handed, bowled. Bit of sort of military.
We've been wanting to do this for a while.
Are you still playing?
Well, I do on weekends with my sons.
Not just in the garden, but actually.
No, properly leather ball cricket. Yeah. I got a knock between on my ribs and below that. The fleshy part.
A little bit slower than you used to be then, perhaps.
Absolutely, and the sun is getting faster, and that stayed with me for about 10 days. So I do my bit as well. Yeah,
very good.
Yeah, and
one of my absolute bucket list ambitions is to come and watch a test match in India. So that's what I've got to sort out in the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, and I'm gearing up to watch, hopefully Boxing Day test match in Australia at the end of the year.
Fantastic.
But each time that I've been to, London or, anywhere outside India, we end up on the losing side, whether it's T20 or test match. So let's see how it goes.
Well,
that's a passion.
It's an unlucky coincidence for you with the strength of the Indian team at the moment.
Yes. I'm not bringing luck, absolutely.
Yeah.
And favorite Indian food?
I like all Indian food. We had an amazing meal last night.
Oh, absolutely.
And so at the moment,
Falaknama.
At the moment, Hyderabadi food is my favorite.
Oh, excellent. I guess let's end with asking you, what would you advise people to do, with their real estate? You personally invested in real estate, and what have you done with real estate investments?
What, personally?
Yeah.
Well, I've bought residential property. I've never bought commercial property.
Okay.
And also, I hesitate to advise anybody on their investments. But I think the world has been through a very difficult 4 or 5 years. COVID clearly sort of disastrified people's view on no one's going to go to the office, and we're now in a really interesting position where that seems to be turning. There is a significant confidence now in the office sector. But not just that. I think we're getting more sophisticated in the advice we're giving to clients across living sectors, the repositioning of assets, and private wealth. And what I would advise our people to be doing is to be very curious about our business. And the more you know about the Knight Frank business, the more you can start conversations with clients and become a more interesting advisor.
One last question before we end. We are the only business globally, perhaps, with a global footprint, which is a partnership business. And how does that sort of give us a competitive advantage or a distinct standing versus every one of our competition, which is publicly trading?
Look, very simply, I think it's about the way we show up. You know, we demonstrate the fact that people centricity we spoke about our people and our clients, drives everything that we do. And I believe, because I meet one or two clients a week, and they talk to me about the platform and the fact that we're different. The way we approach the relationships is different. And we've just got to keep running at that because it's so powerful.
Excellent. Thank you very much, William. That's our time with Senior Partner Group Chair, William Beardmore-Gray, Knight Frank. So thank you very much, William.
Thank you, Viral.
Thank you.